In this video, I'm going to show you a step-by-step process on a haircut that retains a lot of width and texture while being complemented with a low skin fade. To begin this haircut, I'm going to divide the head directly down the center, separating side from side, and then I'm going to divide the hair from the high point on the apex to above the ear, separating front from back. Next up, I'm going to divide the hair on the contour of the head. Again, this separates out everything above and below the widest point of the side of the head. I'm going to secure all the hair away on the top by grooming all of the hair into the palm of my hand, twisting the hair away and securing with clips. Next up, I'm going to create a deep V section throughout the crown. This is because the bone structure drops quite low throughout the back, and I'm keeping a lot of weight and density throughout this haircut, so this kind of sectioning pattern lends itself to that kind of result. Once again, I'm going to comb all the hair into the palm of my hand, twist the hair away and secure with a clip. The lowest point of this V section sits just above the occipital bone, and the wide points of this section join up with the section I created throughout the contour of the head. To begin, I'm going to be instilling the shape throughout the contour of the head. I'm going to be using a forward graduation technique because this haircut is going to be worn towards the front of the head. I'm starting above the ear in the safety zone, because on this haircut, this is where the least amount of problems can occur. And it gives me a great reference point to work to as I move towards the front of the head and then around the back of the head. As you can see, I'm using sections that are roughly the width of my comb. I'm splitting the previously cut section in half, that then becomes my guideline, and the new hair from the new section is the hair that I cut. The hair at the front of the head here, I'm going to over-direct back to the previous sections. This is because I want to retain that length towards the recession points. When moving around the back of the head, it's important to pay attention to the hair growth. In this scenario, the hair swings from the right side to the left, so it wouldn't make sense for me to keep using forward graduation sections. I'm going to start to pivot my sections backwards, and they will then turn into diagonal back sections, which will encourage the hair to swing around the head in a more natural and organic way. I'm using the same technique as I did for cutting the front of the head. I'm splitting the previous section in half, that then becomes my guideline, and the new hair in the section is the hair that I cut. Really important thing to pay attention to here is body position. My body position is going to be controlling the horizontal shape. The vertical shape on the sides of this panel are triangular. The horizontal shape is round. For this last section on the back here, I'm going to continue cutting to where the line from the V section crosses over the back. This will act as a reference point when I cut the other side. You can see the section pattern starts to make sense now as to why I choose the types of lines that I do. The diagonal lines throughout the crown section not only remind me that I'm creating graduation, but they also act as a guide of where I need to stand. If I keep following the section line, I shouldn't go too far wrong on my horizontal shape. Now the right hand side is complete, I'm going to go on and complete the left hand side. Once again, I'm starting above the ear, which is what I like to call the safety zone. I move to the front of the head, and then again I adjust my technique to move around to the back of the head. Next up, I'm going to release the zone in the crown. This zone lives above the rounding of the head, so it's important I understand what I'm doing with my cutting mechanics here. Once again, the section line tells me where to stand, and I'm going to mimic my cutting line with the section line that I create. The section line tells me where to stand, and it also tells me where to cut. I'm over-directing all of the hair back down to the previously cut sections. This is called overdirection. Now that I'm over the rounding of the head, this is going to retain a lot more density throughout this section and further enhance the shape. I keep cutting this technique until I cross over the center. I'm going to repeat the exact same process on the other side. Now I'm going to release the zone in the top. I'm spraying down the hair to ensure even dampness. I'm going to start this zone by creating my guideline section directly through the center of the head. Each new section is going to be over-directed towards the center to leave extra width in the external corners. And I'm going to be creating a vertically square shape. Before I start cutting any hair, it's important for me to assess the lengths that I already have to ensure that I choose the correct length. I'm going to use the last shortest hair from the crown section as a guide for the length in the top. I'm using a jagged point cutting technique here. This is because I'm not going to be adding in any extra texture once the hair is dry. This hair type has some natural curl to it, so by point cutting the edges like this, is going to ensure that there's a little bit of a regularity throughout the ends. I'm going to cut one side of the head at a time, and you'll notice that my cutting mechanics are going to remain consistent. My body position is extremely important here. I'm going to stay standing on the same side of the head and cut all sections from this side of the head. To cut this side of this zone, I'm pushing the hair towards the center of the head. As I mentioned previously, this will over-direct these hairs towards the center, creating a horizontally triangular shape, leaving more length and density towards the exterior part of the head. I'm still working with sections roughly the width of my comb and pushing them towards the center of the head. Remember that there's two people's posture to pay attention to here, my own and the client's posture. So if you notice the head starting to drift away from you, it's important to move the head back to a comfortable position. As I reach the corners, I'm going to ensure that they're adequately over-directed back to the center. I'm going to repeat this same process on the other side of this zone, but this time I'm going to be pulling the hair towards the center. Within any haircut, I'm looking to control as many variables as possible, especially when it comes to curly or wavy textured hair. When I'm cutting the hair, even when point cutting, the scissors will naturally push the hair in a certain direction, and I want to keep that consistent on each side of this zone to ensure that I get the most consistent and balanced results. Once the top is complete, I'm going to connect any excess length to the safety zone that I originally cut above the ear, remembering that I want extra length towards the front of the head. I'm using a razor to do two things at once, to remove length, but also to create softness within this panel. You can see I'm using a diagonal forward section because it reminds me to over-direct the hair and cut on a diagonal line, allowing the hair to fall longer towards the front of the head. Now I'm going to adjust the fringe. I'm creating a small, shorter panel throughout the center here. I'm using a shallow blade and an open stroke to do two things at once, to remove some length and to create some softness throughout the front of this haircut. You can see that I'm over-directing the outside corners towards the center, again to leave more length and density towards the external shape. Now it's time to style the hair. I'm running a matte paste from roots to tips throughout the whole head to change the material of the hair. Then I'm going to go through and comb it all back into place with a wide tooth comb. To start the drying process, I'm going to wrap dry all of the hair that lives on the contour and below. This is because I want to take control of this area of the head, and I've got to use the clippers, so I want to prepare the hair and these surfaces as best as possible for the most smooth and even results. Moving on to the top now, I'm going to use the diffuser attachment to bring the natural texture back to life and show off the expanded shape. Once the hair gets to around 60 to 70% dry, I'm going to use the diffuser to carry on drying the hair, and I'm going to use my free hand to start to place the hair where I want it to live. Once the hair reaches 70 to 80% dry, I'm going to switch the hairdryer to a cool setting, cool the hair back down, and set the product into the hair. Moving on to the clip work now, my first guard of choice is a number 3 with the lever closed, and I'm running the clipper with the grain to debulk the sides before I go in and cut against the grain. Now I've opened up the lever on the number 3 and I'm cutting in against the grain, and I'm ensuring that I'm not cutting past the initial structure I just created with the scissor work. Next up, I close the lever down and creating a true number 3. Next, I'm going to assess what the best zero line is to put in. In this case, I'm assessing how much space I have to fade from the front to the back of the head. And I'm assessing the shape of the weight line that I created with my scissor work. These two things will inform my decision making when it comes to putting in my zero line. I'm choosing to mimic the weight line with my initial zero line. This will allow me to keep the fade looking as balanced as possible. It will give me enough room to stretch out the color and also leave color in certain areas that I need to. In all of my haircuts, I look at the areas that I need to prioritize and I cut those first and make the haircut fit around those areas. The temple curve is one of those areas. I want to keep some darkness and strength in this area, so I'm going to cut that first and prioritize this area of the haircut. My first guard of choice is a number 1. I'm going to go in and create some space above and around the ear line. And then take the number 1 guard off, open up the lever, and gradually close the lever until the zero line fades away. Next up is the 1.5 guard fully open, and this will run directly into where I put in the 3. Next up is the 1 fully open, and I'm going to slowly close the lever until I'm happy with the color spread. Next, I'm going to move on to the panels towards the back of the head and above the ear and join these panels together. The beauty of having the front panel already completed is it acts as a reference point for the rest of my fading process. This not only saves me time, but it stops me from chasing the fade up the head and making it too short or too high. Once I finish with the 0, I move back to the 1.5 open and closed. And then I move back to the number 1 guard open, slowly closing until I'm happy with the color spread. As with all of my fading, I like to use the 80-20 rule. This means that I get the fade to about 80% complete and then I move on. Again, I'm not looking perfection on the first pass. This can result in me wasting time and chasing the fade up the head. Next up, I'm refining the contour edge with some scissor over comb, connecting these two panels together. I'm combing the hair in the direction that it wants to live, which is towards the front of the head, and only cutting the hair that needs to be connected to the fade. This ensures that I retain the width in the haircut and I don't take the corners too slim. I'm going to repeat this whole process on the other side. Now all I need to do is to join these two back sections together. I'm going to follow the exact same process that I did on the other side and on this side to complete this zone. Now I have some really strong reference points to blend out this zone throughout the back. Once again, I'm going to use the same fading method as I did for all the other panels to fade out this zone in the back. This fading technique on a macro level has been an ascending technique because it's been slowly working up, but within each guard there has been a descending technique as well. So I slowly move up and then move back down. Move up a little bit and then move back down. To further refine the fade, I'm going to use the texturizing scissors to balance out the colour and soften any heavy edges and dark spots. To give this haircut a standout factor, I'm going to sharpen up all of the exterior edges with a straight blade. Now it's on to the final pieces of styling, I'm using a fine mist of water over the hair to rehydrate the hair, and I'm using a texture powder over the top of that. Then I'm going to use my palms and my fingertips to scrunch this product into the hair to really separate the curls, to create pockets of texture and definition, and place the hair exactly where I want it to live. So there you have it, a haircut that enhances the natural texture and retains width, complemented with a low skin fade.